What's up, Party Chat Sports? Welcome back to the channel. One of your hosts, Caleb Gill, doing a solo pod for you today. We're going to focus here on the New York Jets as we get ready for the 2026 NFL season. We're only a mere few weeks away. One preseason game left. Jets have looked all right in their first two preseason games. So what I'm going to do today is break down, not really break down, but go through my thoughts on my expectations for the Jets this year. And I'll be honest, it's not a lot. There's not high expectations I have for the Jets this year, but who knows, things could get interesting. I'm going to predict the 53-man roster, and we'll take a look at the schedule, talk through some things. We'll just have a little conversation here on the New York Jets. So that first thing that I wanted to mention was my expectations. And like I already said, they're not high. I don't have a lot of expectations for the Jets this year just because every time you start to have any sort of expectation, you just get let down. It is so easy to be let down as a Jets fan, and it sucks, but I'm waiting for 2027. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm waiting for 2027. If the Jets look good this year, I'll definitely be tuned in. Like, I don't want them to be garbage, but I just can't expect them to be good after years. I mean, the longest playoff drought of Major League Sports, fellas. 15 plus years in the NFL today should not be happening. And who knows? I mean, if things break right for the Jets, that playoff drought could end this year. That's banking on Geno Smith reverting back to who he was in Seattle. And actually, let's talk about Geno first. Because everybody is going to hate on the Jets because, Geno Smith's your quarterback. And I get it. Geno Smith, the last time he was the Jets quarterback, got punched in the face. But, this was 2015. He was on his way to a hell of a year. Like, everybody remembers Ryan Fitzpatrick and how he played that year with Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall, Chris Ivory coming out of the backfield. That's one of the most fun years that we've had in this drought, right? So that should have been Geno. That should have been Geno that year. From all reports, he looked the part. He looked like he had taken the right step or was starting to progress. Unfortunately, the maturity just wasn't there. And we all know what happened. In Seattle, he got a nice, good, fresh start in his career, had played a couple of good years. And everybody's thinking of Las Vegas. And the Raiders with Geno. Like, oh my gosh, he was awful last year. Which, yes, he was. He was terrible last year. But so was everybody. There's a reason that Pete Carroll only lasted 1 year. Chip Kelly wasn't even really calling an offense from all reports. The Geno Smith and the Raiders offense were set up for failure. There was no offensive line, really no weapons. Brock Bowers was really just about it, and he was still young. As much as we get brocked up for Bowers over here, you got to have more than that. And Genti was supposed to help, couldn't get the run game going. Geno was bad, but I wouldn't put all that on him. Just because of how much of a mess, how dysfunctional that Vegas year was for everybody. Everybody there on the Raiders had a bad year. And it got Pete Carroll canned after one season, and the Raiders ended up with the first overall draft pick. That's not just Geno Smith that did that. So, if you're looking at the glass half full, being optimistic, you're hoping that last year was just a fluke. And what happened with the Raiders wasn't all Geno, or really a lot of that wasn't on Geno. If you're the glass half full, if you're if you're putting money on the Jets having, more, I think they're over under 5 wins. I took the under because I just can't trust them until I can. But if you're taking the over, you're banking on Geno playing much better than he did with the Raiders, which, again, is a possibility. You look at the weapons that the Jets have offensively, and my gosh, Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell looks good. If A.D. Mitchell can be a solid wide receiver too, if Omar Cooper is what you're expecting out of a bottom of the first round wide receiver, If he can be that slot guy, that solid wide receiver three, him and Isaiah Williams could. I mean, it's not a bad wide receiver room when you look at it. It's starting to get a little crowded. You have guys that are going to be pushed off the roster that in other years might have made. The running back room, Brees Hall, signs his extension. He gets his money. He's going to be a focal point of this offense. You have Frank Reich calling plays. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's best year came with Frank Reich at the helm. So that's something that I'm looking forward to is the run game. The Jets have the offensive line to be a dominant run offense. The two bookend tackles, Olu and Membu. You have Joe Tippmann. If you get anything out of Dylan Parham and Josh Myers, it's going to be a solid group up front. The offense actually, and I've said this, I've alluded to it over the last couple of weeks or months, really. The offense isn't what I'm worried about. Gino's going to toss the pill. I've been saying it all offseason. He is going to sling the rock. Sometimes he'll be caught by the other team. He's going to make his mistakes. He's going to have those head-scratching moments like, Gino, what the freak are we doing, man? But then he's gunslinger. He's risky. He will let it loose. He's going to let it rip. And it's going to be fun to watch because the Jets, I mean, even when Rodgers, I don't like harping on Rodgers and his tenure too much just because it's old news, but he was just stat padding. He wasn't slinging it. He was just trying to get Devontae Adams fed. We really haven't had a quarterback that was willing to throw the ball around the yard a lot in a while. Geno Smith, I think, is going to do that. Especially, you have A.D. Mitchell stretching the field. If he's able, I mean, confidence is so big for wide receivers. And it seems like he's getting that confidence back. I get what happened with the Colts and why the Colts were wanting to let him go. You can't make the mistake that he made, dropping the ball before the end zone. It does feel like, though, that this change of scenery has done him a lot of good. And you're not expected to be wide receiver one. You're not even expected to be a top 3 target in this offense. It's going to go Garrett, Brees, and you're hoping Kenyon Sadiq. Like, those are your top 3 weapons you're hoping by the end of the year. So you have A.D. Mitchell thrown in there. You have Mason Taylor thrown in there. You have Omar Cooper and Isaiah Williams. This is a fun offense, and it's going to look so good on paper. And in an ideal situation for a young quarterback to come to. You're looking, and it's like the situations around the league. I don't know what the hell I just did there. That's not great. Whatever I did at the screen. Awesome. You're looking at the other situations around the league. It's like, well, I mean, the Browns is the Browns. The Cardinals is the Cardinals. The Jets' offense on paper, oddly enough, is an ideal landing spot for a young quarterback. And that's not even just the Jet fandom in me. That's just being realistic. The offensive line, the weapons. If you get a good coach, it's a great spot for a young quarterback. And we'll see what Frank Reich dials up this year. If he's going to be Chan Gailey or if he's going to be, the Frank Reich, the last we saw Frank Reich that got him fired. That's going to be very interesting. And if the Jets are good this year, it's going to be because of the offense. I do not think the defense is going to be all that. I have a lot of question marks about this defense. The front four, like up front, the D-line, I'm not too concerned about. Harrison Phillips, Jawan Briggs, if Devondre Sweat can get things going, you have the middle of your defensive line set. I'm really excited about David Bailey and what he's going to look like. If you get anything out of Will McDonald, you signed Joseph Asai to a good contract, expecting him to be something. Kingsley Enigabare. The defensive line should be fine. It's the rest of that defense that I'm concerned about. Linebackers, I know Demario Davis has looked good and looked fine, but he's old. He's getting, like, how much does he have left in the tank? It really concerns me. And then right behind him is Jamie Sherwood, who last year didn't live up to the contract that he's re-signed. If he play, I mean, you're hoping for a better year this year, but can you expect that? I don't know. The linebacker room as a whole terrifies me. And the Jets should invest in linebacker a little bit more next year. And the secondary. Brandon Stevens is an all right corner. I don't know if I like him as my number one. A.Z. Thomas, again, he's fine. You want to see a little bit more this year out of him. He's competing with Nashawn Wright, who really hasn't been able to play much, or practice much. So A.Z. Thomas is going to get, he's got the lead right now on being the starting corner. It's a lot of unprovenness. And they're going to get beat. I'm not saying they're going to look like the Cowboys did last year, where they're giving up 40 every game, but making Russell Wilson look like prime Russell Wilson. But I look at the rest of the secondary, the safety room scares me. Minka Fitzpatrick will be fine, but the rest of the safeties, Dane Belton, he's going to be hit or miss. He's going to be very hit or miss. Andre Sisco is probably going to have a spot on this roster. Malachi Moore hasn't lived up to the expectations that many of us had. We'll see what we get with D'Angelo Pons. I mean, he hasn't been able to practice much. So what's his rookie season going to look like? Just the secondary as a whole. If the Jets are bad, like many expect them to be, it's going to be because of the defense holding them back. I truly feel that way. Which is going to be a huge indictment on Aaron Glenn, because he is a defensive specialist. He is calling the defenses here. He took the reins back. He's going to be the defensive play caller. We'll see what it looks like. And I thought they looked fine in moments throughout the preseason. I wasn't a fan of some of the easy throws that the Jets were giving up. They had some easier completions allowed in the first two preseason games. Just the quarterbacks and the receivers couldn't always hit on them. But you get a good quarterback, they're going to rip this defense apart, I fear. And I would like to be proven wrong. I don't want Aaron Glenn to fail. I want that on the record now. I don't want him to fail. I want him to succeed. That has not changed since the day he got hired. Excuse me. It may sound like I'm very anti-Aaron Glenn at times. It's just the product I've seen on the field from his teams, or his team last year, was trash. It did not look good. So my expectations are low because of what I have to go off of. He very well could have gotten fired after year one. I respect Woody Johnson for giving him one more year. And you set yourself up for an interesting 2027 offseason. If things go good this year, then Aaron Glenn, you're going to be able to pick the quarterback of the future. If things don't go well, then the question isn't going to be, is Aaron Glenn's here, he'll be gone. Is Darren Muji going to be here? And that's a discussion for a later day. I look at this team, and it's intriguing. Like, I think a lot of people actually, the people that say the Jets are going to be trash this year, I fear aren't aware of the type of team the Jets are going to be fielding as much as they should be. It's going to be a mediocre to bad defense, more than likely. You'll get some pass rush from, hopefully, David Bailey, who's the highest drafted defensive player the Jets have taken. We'll see what Will McDonald looks like. Again, rushing the passer, I don't think will be as much of an issue. It's if you don't get home against the quarterback, how's the quarterback going to tear you apart? That's what scares me. But offensively, I think it's going to be intriguing. It's going to be a lot on Geno Smith. And what actually kind of scares me about the quarterback room as a whole is Cade Klubnik, fourth-round rookie quarterback, is going to be the QB2, whether we like it or not. And he looked fine. I've actually haven't minded some of what I've seen from Cade Klubnik. He looks poised, a little accurate. He's taking the intermediate stuff. We'll see how he looks in the third preseason game if he pushes the ball down the field a little bit more. But he seems fine for a capable backup. But say Geno Smith goes down week 3. Do you really? Do you feel good enough about Cade Klubnik to start him that early, that quick? I don't. I still want a veteran quarterback as his backup. Let Cade continue to progress, continue to, work on things behind the scenes. And, if you need to play him in December, I'm cool with that. I just don't want to run into a situation where he has to play in October. That's too early, I think, for him. And actually, let's take a look at the schedule and just kind of go through, how things could shake up for the Jets. So week 1, Titan fans are already talking shit. Jets fans, I don't know if you've noticed this or seen it on Twitter. They're already talking shit. There's a guy that said that if the Jets beat the Titans, he's going to walk nonstop from MetLife Stadium to Nissan Stadium. And I don't know where Titans fans get off thinking that they're hot shit. Cam Ward hasn't looked good. The defense looked like Swiss cheese a little bit in the preseason. Grant's preseason, you don't really know what all you can take away from that. But, the Titans have 2 quarterbacks that were picked within the top 33 of the last 3 years on their roster right now. Titans are one of the worst teams in the league right there with the Jets. The Jets very well could beat the Titans. They could also very well lose to the Titans. It's going to be a close, when you look at the betting odds on this game, it's going to close at probably, I don't know, they probably give the Titans a home field advantage. So probably 3 points for the Titans would be my guess. Titans will be favored, I would think. But you look at the rest of the schedule, you have a gauntlet, the NFC North gauntlet. And if you can leave, so I look, by the time you get to this Raiders game, we're going to probably know if Aaron Glenn's going to be the coach of the Jets in 2027 or not. If you start off, say you get a win against the Titans, and you get a win against one of Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago. You're 2-2, getting ready to play the Browns. If you beat the Browns, you're 3-2. You'll probably drop the game in New England, 3-3. Miami is a dumpster fire. You probably split with Miami this year. So that's the home game. Let's call that 4-3. 4-3 by Halloween? That's a huge success. Now, if you lose to the Titans and Robert Saleh gets his revenge game because everybody gets a revenge win against the Jets, Green Bay is going to be a better coached team. You're 0-2. Detroit 0-3. Chicago probably 0-4. Now, maybe 1-4 after the Browns game. 1-5. 1-6. 2-5. You don't feel that good once you get to the Raiders game. I think that's where the Raiders-Jets game is going to be interesting in a lot of ways as we look like games to look forward to. And that's mostly because I think that's the game that we see Fernando Mendoza. I think that's the first time, that's his first career start would be Mendoza. You might see the field before that, but I think his first career start will be against the Jets on November 1st. I also think by then we will have a good idea of if the Jets will be coached by Aaron Glenn or somebody else in 2027. And then you look at the rest of this. After the Raiders game, that's why if you could get to 4 wins by Halloween, you feel better about the future because you're probably going to drop the Kansas City, the Buffalo, the LA. I said you probably split with Miami. Now, if you lose 4 straight going into the bye, things could get ugly as well. But, worst case scenario, you have 2 wins here. You're 2-10 heading into the bye. This Denver game will not be coached by Aaron Glenn. if that's the case. And he might be gone before that, depending on how ugly these losses are. This is a huge, I mean, everyone knows it. It's a huge year for Aaron Glenn and company, but you look at the schedule, you're not afforded the luxury of like, well, 50-50, you have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. So looking at these first 12 weeks, that's the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, the Dolphins, at least 4, maybe 5 wins minimum for Aaron Glenn. And it depends on how. Now, if they're losing, if they're 2-10, 3-9, but they're close games, you're right in there till the end against the Patriots and the Bills, and the young guys look good. You get some good Omar Cooper, Kenyon Sadiq. Like the young talent looks like they're being developed, you feel a little bit better. But if these losses are Geno Smith looks like last year's Raider Geno Smith, and the defense is getting torched every week. And Malik Willis just dropped 300 on the Jets. It's going to get ugly. And you look at a lot, like, I think the Packers is a winnable game. But also, every single team that's on the Jets schedule is looking at the Jets as a winnable game. And they should until proven otherwise. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I'm a Jets fan, so everything's going to go great. I don't. If you want my honest opinion on what's going to happen, I think somehow the Jets are going to come out with 2 wins before they go to New England. So you're 2-4 heading to New England on October 18th. So then 2-5. Let's just go to the bye week. And this is going to be mumble jumbled out of order. So 2-5. I think you split with Miami, so we'll go 3-6, 3-9 if with losses to Kansas City, Buffalo, Los Angeles. So you're either going to be 3-10 or 4-9, depending on how that Raiders game goes heading into the bye, is what I think is going to happen. If it's 4 wins, Glenn has a shot. If it's 3 heading into the bye, Glenn's probably gone, or he's on his way out. And then you go to Denver, Arizona. If you lose to Arizona, you're yikes. I'd love for them to split with New England, but I don't know if they will. Vikings will probably be a loss. And then the Bills are the Bills. So that's in Buffalo too. That's crazy. It's going to be an interesting year for the Jets, man. And week 1 is going to tell us a lot. If they come out and like run down the Titans' throats, and Geno Smith puts up 250 yards, 1 pick, 1 interception, or 2 tutties and a pick, or he's going to throw a pick. Can the Jets get a pick on defense? That'd be nice. If the Jets can beat their old head coach, you feel a little bit better about you feel okay. I mean, week 1 is going to lie to you. So that just because if the Jets do win week 1, it doesn't mean much of anything. But they lose week 1, it's going to be, oh hell, not this again. You can't. I don't think you can be 0-2 and feel good. Like if you are going to Detroit 0-2, you can't feel good about the rest of the season. And speaking of this season, we're going to finish up this episode by me going through and trying to predict the 53-man roster. And we'll see how accurate I get. So, quarterback, again, I think the Jets only field 2 quarterbacks. It's going to be Geno Smith and Cade Klubnik. I would like for them to go out and get a veteran, and maybe they do after the initial wave of the 53-man cuts. But the initial 53-man roster, this is the initial, not what it's going to look like week 1. So 2 quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Cade Klubnik. I think they roster 4 running backs because Kenny Nwangwu is a running back, and he's going to be the primary returner. Breece Hall, of course, is your starter. Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. The running back room with those 3 isn't bad, I don't think. The wide receiver room, I was hyping it up earlier. I think they're going to have five: Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, Isaiah Williams, Omar Cooper Jr., and Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick's a veteran. It'd be nice to have a veteran on this offense, even if if he's inactive most weeks. Get a veteran like Patrick in here. And one name that's off this is Aaron Smith. I don't think he's going to make this roster. I don't think he's going to make this team. He hasn't done enough to warrant a roster spot. He's kind of the odd man out. He's getting passed up. He's getting, you know, Jamal Pritchard and Cam Camper are getting reps over Smith. It's GG's for the young buck, and it's a shame because when you spend a higher pick on a guy, you expect something, and there's a reason most people thought he was a 6th round pick, and excuse me, why a lot of people, including myself, didn't care for the pick when it was made. But it's a tough beat. 4 tight ends: Mason Taylor, Kenyon Sadiq, Jeremy Ruckert, and Jelani Woods. He's a Frank Reich favorite. He got a touchdown with the first team. Jelani Woods is making the roster. Jeremy Ruckert's probably going to be like a flex, H-back. They probably won't field a fullback and instead save the extra spot for another defensive back or a defensive lineman or something like that. They probably won't have Andrew Beck on this roster, and they'll use Jeremy Ruckert in that H-back, fullback type role. Your offensive line tackles are going to be Olu, Armand Membu, Max Mitchell, and Chuck Okafor are going to be your 2 guys off the bench. Okay, tackle depth there. I wouldn't mind some sort of addition to the offensive line once waivers come through. And the Jets will have the second waiver pick. So they'll have their pick of the litter for the most part. In the interior, Dylan Parham, Josh Myers, Joe Tippmann are your starters. And as Cooper, this year's draft pick, hopefully you can get something out of Cooper. And then Xavier Newman, because Cooper isn't a center. He can't play. He's strictly a right guard. So if one of Parham or Josh Myers goes down, you're probably moving Tippmann and then sliding Cooper in to Tippmann's spot as he can fill out the other 2's roles. On the defensive side, Devondre Sweat, he's going to make this team. He hasn't practiced much. I'd like to see him, get some. I don't know what his injury status is right now. If he could play at all in the 3rd preseason game, it'd be nice, but I understand if he doesn't. Harrison Phillips, Dewan Briggs, 2 guys that our boy Darren Muji acquired in trade last year. Anyamata and Daryl Jackson Jr. are both going to make this roster on the defensive line. Jackson Jr., 4th round draft pick from this year. Big, beefy boy up front. I mean, you get him and David Bailey next to each other, and it's the most unimpressive looking just because there's no aura, no gloves. But man, if those 2 can develop together, that'd be nice. Speaking of David Bailey, he's going to be one of the edge rushers with Will McDonald, Kingsley Ngabari, and Joseph Asai. If Joseph Asai if he's going to be on the active, if he can play early, he'll make the 53. If not, they might. I don't know if they're going to IR him or not. I don't know what his injury. I don't know what these guys' injury statuses are. Demario Davis, Jamie Sherwood are going to be your starting linebackers. McCrary Ball, Kiko Mauinoa, and Michael Walker are going to be your backup linebackers, I believe. Some special team depth there as well. Your corners, I think they're going to field 7 corners. Brandon Stevens, A.Z. Thomas, Jarvis Brownlee are your starters. D'Angelo Pons will be a starting corner at some point. He just hasn't been able to practice. Nashawn Wright also hasn't been able to practice, so we'll see when he gets healthy how those reps look like with him and A.Z. Thomas. Sam Womack has had some moments, and also I got to shout out the Toledo guy. I hope he makes the roster. A little bias there, of course. The last cornerback spot, I don't know if it's going to be. Quanta Stiggers had a scare, so it's probably going to be Trey Brown. Even though Bamba is a guy that, he's got a cool name. He made some nice plays against the Buccaneers. Could see the Jets trying to stash him on the practice squad. I think Trey Brown has done enough to warrant an initial 53-man roster spot. 5 safeties on the back end. Dane Belton and Minka Fitzpatrick better be your starters. I don't want to see Andre Sisco starting. He's going to make this team, though. Malachi Moore and the last draft pick the Jets made in VJ Payne. I think Payne is going to be a good special teamer. We'll see what he develops as a safety. And then your special teamers. Jason Sanders is going to be your kicker. He had a bad day today, I guess, but overall, he's been the better kicker. Maybe the Jets game or week 1 kicker isn't even on this roster yet. Austin McNamara came out of nowhere to be a stud last year. And Thomas Hennessy. So that's your 53-man roster. And I think the biggest guy that I don't think is going to make this team is Arian Smith. The biggest name. And it's unfortunate. It's tragic. So we'll see how things shake up. We'll know within a week or so, I believe, is when the 53-man cuts need to be made. So it's going to be here quick. The NFL football season is going to be quick. I mean, I'm already drafting for fantasy leagues. Let's just get to the season. I think the best thing us Jets fans can do, unfortunately, is have no expectations and just see what happens and enjoy the ride. If you sit there and if you expect the Jets to be good, you're going to be wildly disappointed. But if you also sit there and think the Jets are going to be picking number 1 overall next year, I think they're going to be better than that. One of my biggest predictions, actually, for the Jets is the draft pick that's the better draft pick. How do I want to phrase this? My big prediction for the Jets is that the highest draft pick the Jets have in 2027 won't be their own. I think the Colts will have a worse season than the Jets. And if that's number 1 overall pick worthy, in a perfect world, the Colts are garbage. One of the Packers or Cowboys are also bad. And the Jets actually don't look good or bad. And the Jets look like they're taking that next step. And oh yeah, you have some high draft picks because of the Colts and either the Packers or the Cowboys. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll talk about the Jets a little bit more as we go through the season, but I'm trying to avoid as much Jets conversation as possible. It's just depressing as all hell. But if you want to see more, let me know. We'll have more football content here up on the feed. We're going to get a college football episode up this week. We're also, speaking of college, Dylan's going to get his quarterback rankings. So I'm, as a Jets fan, expecting to be drafting one high next year. I'm really looking forward to that. Make sure you stay tuned to the feed here. We are on TikTok, I guess, even though TikTok's pretty much freaking shadow banning us, trying to figure that one out. We're on YouTube. Check out all of our YouTube shorts. We're wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Twitter or X. We're anywhere and everywhere. All that part of Jets Sport. So until next time. Peace.